right, we will call the Estacada School Board of Directors meeting to order for March 13th, 2024. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, can we get a roll call, please?
Director Walper,
Here.
Director Martinez,
Here.
Director Berman,
Here.
Director Johnston,
Here.
Director Shibahara,
Here.
Vice Chair Wheeler,
Here.
Chair Rydell.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to have people here. We're not just talking to ourselves the whole time, so I like it. Denise, was the meeting properly notified?
Yes, it was.
Perfect, thank you. So first up would be a motion to approve or amend the agenda.
Chair Rydell, I motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item C already. Wow. Board of Directors reports. We'll start at that end with Director Walper.
I have nothing.
Nothing. Thank you, sir. Director Berman.
No updates.
No updates. Thank you. Director Shibahara.
I think for me, the biggest thing is lots of activities, spring sports, spring activities. And also, I have 2 seniors graduating, so all kinds of crazy stuff ahead of me for the next few months. So, gosh, yeah, there's a lot. College visits, I don't know. It's an exciting time. It's a really exciting time in the district, and also very a little sad, but.
Don't make me
So-
cry. It'll happen.
But lots of things coming up. I don't have anything immediate, but I'm sure I'll have more next month.
Awesome. Thank you.
No updates.
None for you.
No, nothing for me.
Oh,
This
this
is-
is quick.
Okay, I'm going to give a Estacada Middle School wrestling team update. Season is over. Had quite a few kids out, upwards of 30 kids, I believe it was, at one point in the season. Heath Stallcup is back in the mix there coaching, which is great. A little rejuvenation of some new energy, old energy to the wrestling program. I think they sent 5 boys to districts, 2 girls. Highest placer was a 3rd, a 4th, and a couple others that just missed the podium. So one kid went to state, and all in all, it was a success. So the high school program should have a new group of young lads and ladies coming in.
Awesome.
And I might as well talk about baseball. Youth baseball, it is fired up. Had a couple practices under our belts this week with the sunshine. I imagine you're going to see a lot of teams out practicing, a lot of field work being done, and it's that time of year, so exciting.
Awesome. All right, mine will be pretty short as well. Again, spring sports, I'm going way back into the closet. This was a silent auction item at the Coach Carpenter's inaugural Diamond Dinner. So this one's been around for a minute, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I'll say it still fits, and we'll go with that. So a couple things going on that we were part of. So the high school jazz band had a district competition here last week or week before, took first, and are headed to state, which is really awesome. So excited for that group. This last weekend, we had the District 13 Solo Ensemble Contest. Counting up, I was just looking at the roster here. It looks like we had about 16 kids that competed, which was really awesome. And we've got 2 for sure going to state, with a couple, I think 1 more or 2 more that are first alternates. So really good showing from Estacada, and that's always nice to see. So was happy to be out there. And then that is all I'm going to do for now because we got a packed agenda. So that's my report. All right, district reports, communications. Come on down, Maggie and Danny.
Good evening. We'll keep things brief tonight as well, in the interest of time. In the month of March, some of the projects that we are currently working on are, again, video tours of each of our buildings so that folks do not have to enter our schools to see the conditions of our schools as we continue to communicate about a school bond measure. We also are starting communication on a reunification exercise that will be conducted in May with the middle school. Last time around, I believe in 2019, there was pretty thorough communication, and for the most part, families knew what to expect. So that's really what we're aiming for again. We're starting communication now, and we'll, of course, ramp that up as we get closer to May, because folks tend to forget things until we get closer. But we're happy to be launching that communication. We're also focused, we will be focusing on adding some student voice communication, again, as we talk about a school bond effort, just talking about what the current conditions of our facilities are and having students engage in that work as well. If they choose to, our students have really good insight into what our facilities are currently like. And then some recent projects. We had another successful Facebook Live event that had over 1,000 views, so continue to rack in the views on that, as well as have just really polite and informative discourse, and we really appreciate the community for that. I think we had over 100 comments weigh in live during the event, so that was great to see, and a lot of community members informing fellow community members about the facts as well, which we love. Additionally, we got to celebrate our graduation rates. We had another fantastic graduation rate, well above the state average. We're really excited about that. And we also have an article coming out soon highlighting our special education graduation rate, which was well above the state average. So a kudos to those folks, and we're excited to recognize them. And then lastly, I think Danny will talk more about this, but just continuing to do community outreach and looking at the data and where that tells us we should be communicating.
So for community outreach, we are taking advantage of some upcoming events that are going on throughout the district. We have I'm so sorry. Just blank. We are having a event at Rivermill tomorrow, which is for the Early Education Committee. So those are 0 to 5-year-olds. So we're taking the opportunity to go in and have communications with families that we haven't yet had a chance to meet, but will be coming through our doors shortly, letting them know how quickly it does come up and letting them know how this potential or the bond measure would affect them and making connections along the way. We were able to send out informational flyers to parents and staff. Staff requested a one-pager that they were able to reference when asked questions about the bond and just purely informational, and then we decided to go ahead and send that with the students in their folders. So we did send them with the elementary students, knowing that they do go home in folders and will make it home to their parents. And then in addition to that, like Maggie said, we're just continuing the informational campaign. We'll be sending out another flyer to the community and just making sure we're hitting any of those parts in the community that have not had a chance to hear anything about it.
One last thing I forgot to bring up that I just wanted to quickly shout out. Our elementary vice principals and Josh Gray collaborated to do a video getting out the word about Kinder Connection and doing just a more thorough, intentional job of communicating that event that's coming up in April. So hopefully we can get more students registered and identified early on for kindergarten. I know that really helps with the planning efforts as we go into fall. So I just wanted to recognize them for that. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thanks.
Up next is Building and Facilities Report. Mr. Mike Ware, come on up.
Okay, good evening. For your March operations report, I always like to start off with some of our capital improvement projects. Earlier this month, late February, we did wrap up the roof repairs at the Escada High School. Very satisfied and happy with how the work got completed. We actually had some sun, and we're going to so we got some dry days and during that time period. It was not a full re-roof, if you recall, over the kind of the south wing there. You can see highlighted that long rectangle. That was just patching some blisters. However, the awning or the roof leading into the secondary gym or in that sports hallway, we did re-roof all that area. No change orders, no additional expenses. So again, a success. Along with additional capital improvement projects, the Escada Middle School mini-split project is underway. Started this month, we did get contracts completed, and the contractor has started to run line sets, or roughing in the line sets, as well as setting some of the foundations for the outdoor units. And that's expected to happen between now, as we speak, going through March 22nd. So up to spring break. Most of the work is going to be completed during Fridays and during the weekend, so there's little to no impact to our learning environment. During spring break and the May break, we anticipate installing some of the bigger components or equipment in the classrooms and outside. And then we anticipate, and we actually, per grant requirements, need to have this completed by June 30th of this year. We do anticipate wrapping this up sooner because of the efforts that we're getting into right now and getting into the weekend, again, not being impacting the contractors and whatnot. There are some benefits or outcomes that we are looking for of success from this project. The district is eligible to receive $47,000 from SB 1149 funds. That's incentives that is coming from the large utility companies, PGE and Pacific Power, that's paid to the district for energy efficient projects. We do expect energy reduction. We've identified a few different case studies throughout the nation that's completed similar projects, and they saw up to 30 to 40% in energy reduction from very similar type of building, actually the same type of equipment that were used in the Mitsubishi's VFRs. And so we're going to be studying that data over the next year or so to be able to report back and to show that return on investment. And then there's also several evidence-based research that show that the temperature-controlled environment can influence academic performance. And so we'll be identifying ways, and again, just knowing that the controlled temperature can improve test scores as well overall proficiencies, and this is based off evidence-based research. And so some things that we'll be also monitoring through our internal systems. As Maggie mentioned, we are underway in full force of our reunification planning. We had our first planning meeting at the end of February. A number of stakeholders, district leaders, community stakeholders, and county stakeholders were involved. And really, a lot of it's just fine-tuning our playbook that we ran back in 2019. The difference between this drill or exercise compared to last year, or 2019 rather, is that it is on site. It is our middle school group. We are also being innovative in how we're doing the reunification process. It's originally kind of done in a paper form through our parents providing ID, given a paper, and passing along through the process. We're looking at using RFID and technology to make the system more efficient and to have multiple checks to ensure the student is safely reunified with their parent or caregiver. And so we're very excited for this process. Not many programs or districts have a technology way of doing this, so we're kind of setting the way and seeing how it works. And this is all the part of the process is to find those gaps and improve on those systems. And then in access control, we know that access for law enforcement is very critical when there is a life-threatening or an incident that threatens the safety of our students and staff. So quick access is very critical to that process. However, with the integration with access control in schools across the state of Oregon and the nation, that access or that quick access by law enforcement is a bit of a challenge. Many districts coordinate with law enforcement, local law enforcement, to have access cards in a lockbox. However, there's a challenge of that system where they don't know where the lockbox is located. The deputy on patrol may not know the code. And so our efforts was to find a way, to determine a way to how to integrate the local law enforcement access cards into their government issued access cards into our security system. And through some partnerships with Clackamas County Sheriff's Office and now the Molalla Police Department, we have now them fully integrated into our system. So in the event of an incident where we need law enforcement, they're able to use their card that they have on their person to access our buildings at any time. And so it's a huge, huge win for the district, something that hasn't been done at any other districts either. And now our next step is to go to Sandy Police Department and the Oregon City Police Department. So we're moving ways, and it's pretty exciting to make that announcement. And then finally, spring break, as many of the breaks are in the school district, is new opportunities or great opportunities for our support services departments to catch up, to do new work or different type of work. The work doesn't slow down, it's just a different focus. A lot of our maintenance and facility departments are able to get into pending work orders that would have impacted the classroom, but also start prepping grounds for athletics and a lot of the spring sports that are coming in. And then do preventative maintenance that's scheduled to make sure our buildings are staying safe, warm, and dry. Surprisingly, we only have 3 trips scheduled for spring break, which is an anomaly for us. We usually have a lot, so it's actually a nice thing for our drivers to get a bit of a break. But we're excited to be transporting some athletic trips. And then our tech department will be working, as I mentioned, on the reunification technology, our Vocera badges, which is our two-way communication devices. We're making some changes to the integration and just connectivity pieces of it to there. And there's some other works that will be happening. So very much a busy time for the operations department. Any questions?
I do have one for the mini split project at the middle school. Can you remind us how many rooms are being having units installed
Yeah,
in them?
thank you. Yeah, as a reminder, it's 11 classrooms, all of them upstairs.
Okay.
Yep.
And then when we look at those, the other projects at similar schools with similar equipment, is it, when we look at those cost savings, is it a similar amount of the rooms that are being changed?
Yeah.
So it's not like we're comparing a whole school changeover versus, a smaller
Yeah,
percentage?
there are a similar amount of school units. The difference that we're facing is that our AHU units, our handling units, will still be operable to bring in outside air. And so we're gonna have to get creative on how we're tracking the total energy usage, so we didn't want to go through like diesel usage on our boilers, because they're still gonna be active. But yes, you are correct. They are similar size schools and the amount of rooms.
Okay,
Yep.
great, thank you.
So that 30 to 40% savings in energy really isn't gonna save us any money because we don't have any right now, right?
I mentioned 30 to 40% based off those case studies. We expect an energy reduction. I'm not comfortable or ready to say how much that's gonna be, as we're not sure what that's gonna look like, because it's not the full school.
So I'm trying to understand this. We don't have mini splits, and we're gonna put mini splits in, and they have an energy savings. But since we don't have them, we're not gonna experience any cost savings. If we had some in that weren't energy efficient, then we would have a cost savings.
Yeah, I guess you're correct there.
But it will save on diesel usage for heat.
It will
The mini
save-
splits are more efficient than
They're
than the
heat pumps.
system,
Yeah.
so we don't have air conditioning, but it will save on the heat.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for Mike?
I'd just like to say that badge integration is pretty awesome. When we toured Gardner Middle School, they were talking about how that school was set up to allow the sheriffs and police department their local, or specific access that kind of got them right down the middle of the school. And so, obviously, we don't have that, but we have the ability for them to get in one of the 76 doors in this building or whatever it is. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Really awesome. All right, thanks, Mike. Next up is Finance and Accountability Report from Christina Irish.
Good evening, Board. Going to give you a financial update as of February 29th, 2024. For the general fund, we have projected revenue of $47.5 million. We have projected expenditures of $41.1 million, which will give us an ending fund balance of $6.4 million about, which is 16%. And just a reminder, there are some factors, we still are gonna have a May revenue adjustment for state school fund, so I'll keep you updated as soon as we get that information. Year-to-date for actuals and encumbrances, we're at 94.8% for instructional services. And year-to-date in encumbrances for support services is at 86.3%. And then we're fully expecting to do all of our transfers and the other uses. For capital projects, we have a projected revenue of $1.6 million and projected expenditures of $761,000, which will give us an ending fund balance of about $831,000. Is there any questions about financials before I move to the enrollment?
I have a question on the biennium. Are we in year 1 or 2?
We're in year one.
And so that's rear loaded to the 51%, right?
Right. So
And when we start talking about the state school fund for next year, is that already locked in off that biennium number? like the, whatever it is, 8.8, or
Yeah.
what was the funding this year?
10.3.
I'm a couple years behind apparently. So 10.3, is that a fairly good predictor for next year then? Or is there still room for adjustment on that 10.3?
10.3 is,
Is the, 10.3 is the final number. The factors such as enrollment, you know, the ADMW, and the amount per student is the only thing. And that, the amount per student is not just based upon us, it's statewide. So, but 51% is what we're projecting is going to be issued to all school districts.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay. So your next one is your enrollment report. Elementary has 945 students, which is up 4 from last month and down 9 from last year at this time. Middle school is 436 students, which is down 2 and from last month, but up 14 from last year. And then the high school is at 528 students, which is down 9 from last month, but we're still up 26 from last year. So overall, the district is down 7 from last month, but we're still up 26 from last year at this, or 31 from last year at this time. I do want to point out at the high school, we did do some adjustments. Wanted to call out some special great situations we have. We have, are now counting for the RTS students and our Clackamas Community College students. But the total enrollment out of all 3 of those is 528. Summit, I did not get updated numbers, so they are still at 1,349. So we're at 3,258 from last month, or overall, sorry. And then our chart, just down a tiny bit, very slow, but still up. And then reminder, you will see our budget calendar on the agenda tonight for approval. Wanted to call out some important dates for the budget committee to be attending, and wanted just to let the board know the reason why this is approved is because we have certain requirements as a district for publications of these meetings, and we do need, why can't I think of the word? Yes, a quorum at the meetings. Thank you. And next month, April 1st, will be our, I'm sorry, not April 1st, April 10th will be our first budget workshop where we'll do our Budget 101. And finally, just letting you know some changes that have happened at the state that are going to impact us. Procurement rules have changed. Currently, we were required, if we were to receive an order over 10,000, we were required to get 3 bids. And that amount has now changed to 25,000. And another big change in that is an RFP. We were required to do an RFP on anything over $150,000, and now it is $250,000. The only time that that is a little different is if it's with federal funds. We still do have to procure if an item is over 10,000 and get 3 quotes. And so with those changes, I just wanted to let you know that we were going to bring a proposed policy adjustment to our current policy where a board approves anything over 50,000, and we are going to suggest changing that to 150,000. And that is all I have. Is there any questions?
Questions for Christina? And Christina, is there anything not discussed or shown on the financial report that we need to be aware of?
Nope, everything that I'm aware of.
All right, thank you. All right, next up, Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board of Directors, and happy March board meeting. Before I start in the superintendent's report, I would just like to pause for a quick second just to recognize our school board of directors and your hard work, especially that you poured into this month, the month of March and late February. As many know, March is usually the busiest school board meeting of the year because it's when by law we renew all of our contracts, we work through the contractual issues, plus the district is starting to turn the page to budget and plan for next year. And I can tell you that after working with each of you, all 7 of you, for multiple hours over the course of the last 30 days, I just wanted to recognize you and thank you for not just your simple volunteerism of one meeting a month, but the amount of work that you've put into the daily work of being a great school board member, and this community is very lucky to have you as representatives of them as we continue to make our school district a thriving school district. So thank you for your time and effort in evaluations, contract renewals, budgeting, and making adjustments, preparing us for success for the next year. So thank you for that. Per policy, it is my duty to just inform the board that our band and choir program are leaving the state of Oregon to attend their annual, it's biannual, trip to Disneyland to perform and present. And so I'm just letting you know that this is a Disneyland year for that group. They've worked tremendously hard and they're so excited to take this kind of rite of passage as someone who's a part of our performing arts programs, and we wish them the best of luck. And this is my checking the box of informing the board of this trip. I'm excited to share with you a little bit today as I kind of go through the list here. I want to talk briefly about our Road to Success program. This evening, you're going to be seeing a myriad of people speaking about this great program, but just in general, for both the board as a refresher and the citizen who is watching today, the Road to Success program is a great program that really caters to the individualized needs of students who don't want to do high school in the traditional sense, and they would like to earn their high school diploma or GED in a different avenue, a different experience, a different pace, while meeting the needs of that individual child. This program has been in existence for the last 9 years, and it was created 9 years ago and was originally housed underneath the football stadium at Estacada Middle School. Because our community has experienced such tremendous growth, that also meant that the middle school expanded into every single crevice that we could possibly educate kids, which forced this great program to have to move into the high school proper. For the last 3 years, RTS has been running that program with great results and with high levels of success. However, it has always been the student's voice and the origin and intent of this program to always be separate and not on campus, because that is the wishes and the desires of the student to experience high school differently. And so as we continue to be innovative and meet the needs of each family and each student inside our community, I'm excited to have a conversation today about our proposal to move the RTS program to some vacant storefronts in downtown Estacada. I'm sharing a picture of this storefront because today the board will vote to approve the lease agreement for 5 years to move this great high school program filled with 50 great kids to move into this spot into downtown. For those of you who are locals or know this area, it's right across the street from the Chinese food restaurant. It is right next door to the Reliance Connect's customer office buildings where people frequent. And so we're excited for the city of Estacada to engage with these students, as well as we're excited for our students to have different pathways and different options because of this experience in the proximity to its downtown. There's a lot of logistics that still need to be planned, and our great team is collaborating right now to work through each and every single facet of these logistics to make sure we're offering a great experience for our children. But I just wanted to share my excitement and enthusiasm for this move, and establishing this program is on its own and in its own facility where these kids now get to build a culture and an ownership of this program, which is what it's originally designed to do. We also believe that there's a demand that exists not only in our community, but outside of our community for this program. And we do believe that the district will experience additional revenue from taking on other students from other East and South Clackamas County school districts to help support them in their high school experiences, which may be different. And my closing statement on this RTS program, which I think is very important, is as the world continues to change and the conversation about parent choice, the conversation about school choice, and the opportunities that exist for multiple charter school experiences, I think it is to our best interest to remain flexible, agile, and innovative as we find new ways to meet the needs of our community. If we're unsuccessful in that, this is where we'll start to see our own decline in enrollment because these students and families will choose to take their services and experiences somewhere else. And so I'm very proud of this experience. I also just want to commend Director Joe Berman, who was quintessential in helping us make sure that we, the taxpayers, got the best deal and contract to this ability. Obviously, we are paying rent. These are locally owned business owners who are also trying to make local business. But Director Berman went word through this contract. We had multiple back and forths, and I can guarantee you that the taxpayer is getting the best deal for this rental space, while at the same time educating our kids at high levels and ensuring a safe, warm, and dry building. So thank you very much for the time that you've put into making this a great deal. I appreciate that. Moving on next, I do just want to quickly talk about our small vehicle fleet as well as celebrate a big win. So believe it or not, we have been superintendent and school board now for 7 years. And when we first took this job, we, being the school board and your new superintendent who knew nothing at that time, we made a commitment that we wanted to completely overhaul our yellow bus fleet. In fact, we had a director of transportation in 2015 who told us they would not even put their own child on our buses because of how old they were and how much repair and maintenance we did. So over the course of the last 7 years, the school board has made a commitment to purchase 2 brand new buses every year for the last 7 years, ultimately resulting in 14 brand new school buses. And so we now can sleep well at night and guarantee our parents that their children are riding on the most updated, the safest, and most efficient vehicles that we can transport. I do have my own children ride on the school bus every single morning or close to. Usually their mom bails them out of that, but in the mornings and afternoons. But I'm just very proud of this fleet. And so the next group of fleet that we need to start tackling now is our small vehicle fleet. And this consists of, and I took some pictures, currently the district owns 6 cars. 3 of them are newer and are getting the job done in a great way. You can see the 3 cars on the bottom right-hand side. The 2 white cars are Buicks, brand new from the year 2000. Just a fun fact or a party fact, the white Buick belonged to the superintendent or was the superintendent's car. So if you're from this community for a long time, you'll remember that this was Mike Call's car or Howard Fetz's car, and now it's kind of out of services because it's just so old. And then that sweet purple car is from 1996, and our very great technology department uses that car to scurry about across our campus to put out technological fires being figurative in my speaking. Okay, and so what we're proposing to do as we continue to focus and revitalize our small vehicle fleet is the district would like to put these 3 cars up for auction, where the revenue salvaged from these 3 old and dated vehicles can be repurposed to continue to upgrade our small vehicle fleet, as well as the budget that we set aside to continue to upgrade and renew our transportation. Now, the question that might come is, why on earth would we be purchasing cars? What do cars have to do with schools? And I think it's a legitimate question. And I want to just communicate to the board as well as the community that there are some circumstances where we are required by law to transport students to and from our school district to receive their education, where sending a giant yellow bus is inappropriate. So here are some examples. Many times, and this happens every single day in our school district, we have students who live in foster care. That means they've been removed from their home and they live in Gresham, Sandy, Oregon City, even as far as Vancouver, Washington. It does not make logistical nor financial sense for us to send a driver and a giant yellow bus to go pick up this kid. These are what these cars in this fleet does, is we have a driver who goes out and picks up either the individual student or the brother and sister sibling combo to come to school and still participate in their home school, even though they've been displaced from their home or their living circumstances. We also have students who are experiencing homelessness or houselessness. We certainly don't want to drive a bus to the street corner to pick the child up who's living in a tent or in an RV park or in some other type of living situation that would be detrimental or humiliating to that child. This is where we deploy the small cars in order to pick students up on an individual basis. And so having this fleet updated, safe, and reliable is also paramount to our services. And since we have completely revitalized our yellow bus situation, now it's time to turn our attention to some other fleet things. You'll see the two truck and van up top on there. We do not currently own those. However, when we talk about our small fleet, the demand for more smaller group transportation continues to be high, and I'm talking about athletic teams and events. I'm talking about small group field trips, musical situations, and other and extracurricular activities. And so our bus, which I believe you vote on and approve tonight with hope, I'm hoping that this happens, our ability to purchase a 10-passenger and a 14-passenger van, ultimately allowing us to transport more students in an individualized capacity. And then lastly, just a continued commitment to renew our work truck fleet. We have a great group of people who go around and maintain our facilities and our work, and we want to make sure that they have every efficient thing at their disposal to continue to upgrade our facilities so that our kids can receive the best education possible. And so I just wanted to clarify that at this point, as your superintendent, I'm communicating that our shift when it comes to fleet management is going to focus for the next 2 or 3 years on making sure that our small vehicle fleet is now upgraded and ready to go. My last comment on our transportation vehicles and the vehicles that are there for our service to children is that we know that in 2025, we need to meet these DEQ standards. And I'm proud to tell you that every single bus that is out on a daily route or a trip route today is in compliance with those DEQ standards. There are still 3 buses that are out of compliance, but they're considered our backup buses now and are only being pulled when we have to maintain the fleet that is good and in compliance. So I'm proud to share that with you. We all have worked very hard, and when we've budgeted, we've focused very intentionally on ensuring that we were making sure kids were riding to and from school in a safe space. And so I'm proud of that and happy to share that with you today. I've got 2 more things. This is a longer one, but like we talked about, March is a very busy one. And on top of everything else that school districts deal with, this was also the completion of the short term in Salem when it comes to legislation, the short session. And there are a couple major changes that school districts need to understand and work through based on the short session. The one that I'm sharing tonight, both to the public and to the board, is the new changes around how our classified employees are now eligible for additional unemployment benefits. The best way that I can explain this, because when I was in college, I had friends who fought forest fires in the summertime during fire season. People who worked full-time fighting fires for the Forest Service were eligible when the season ended to claim unemployment. And I knew many people who made a living off of unemployment and then fire season. And until this law changed, any employee related to public education was not allowed to or not able to make that same claim, similar to other folks in other lines of profession and industry. And so Salem now has just changed that classified employees, not certified or teachers, but our bus drivers, cooks, custodians, every paraeducators, secretaries, anytime now we go on school breaks, they're eligible for unemployment. And a big myth about unemployment is who actually pays for it. When a person files for unemployment, it is the former or past employer who pays that unemployment. And so with this new change, that is going to affect how we budget next year, because we now need to set a chunk of money aside to be placed for any employee who chooses to take this unemployment thing. And so right now, we're recommending that we set aside about $600,000. And so that's going to have an impact in how we budget next year. By the way, North Clackamas is setting aside about $2.2 million, Lake Oswego, Westland, Wilsonville, about 1.8, 1.6, so $600,000 for our size in comparison to theirs. Is kind of where we're going on that. So you will see more of that as we budget, but this is unfunded, so we have to take $600,000 from somewhere to make this happen. And we're feeling good about it, as you saw. We're in good financial shape, but at the same time, that's something we all need to know and be aware of. And then this is my final piece that I just wanted to share this evening is I know that the community and local headlines and news are starting to report many school districts who are making dramatic financial cuts. Like, for example, I placed up here the Vancouver School District is cutting $35 million from their budget. Portland Public Schools is cutting $30 million from their budget. And I just wanted to put our community and our employees at ease to let them know that the Estacada School District is actually doing quite well financially. As you saw, we are right now predicting a 16% end fund balance, but I think more realistically we'll be between 13 and 15 before it's all said and done. So we're healthy in that perspective. Also, like some of these school districts who I mentioned here, they're experiencing a decreasing enrollment. In fact, I think we're getting a lot of those kids. And so the Estacada School District is experiencing an increase in enrollment, and so we're actually experiencing more revenue, not less revenue, because of our growth in kids. And last but not least, I also wanted to say that some of the reason why you're seeing these school districts make these significant slashes is because when the federal government paid school districts for COVID, this was called ESSER funds during COVID, school districts had 3 years to utilize this. Many school districts use that money to hire people to offset some of the complications of COVID protocols, COVID systems. And so this now federal money is coming to an end this June, and so districts have to lay off the millions of dollars of people that they use with this federal funding. I am so proud of the Estacada School District because we made the conscious decision to use this money on things and not people. And we also had great support from our collective bargaining units to support us in updating our infrastructure and working on different things with this money and not hiring people. Therefore, even though our million point something dollars also goes away, we're not going to be harming anyone of their livelihood or their positions due to our smart work with this grant funding. And again, I think this is something that we should praise ourselves for, as other school districts are now dealing with some very difficult decisions, which I empathize with, and we're in a position that is different than that. And so I just wanted to clarify that as more school districts budget. It's important to understand that we are not necessarily in the same space as they are. That's your superintendent's report.
Any question for Superintendent Carpenter?
When do they go on auction? I've got a new driver.
Yes, yes. Actually, that's a great question, and because of our publicly owned protocols and our policies, anybody is eligible and welcome to bid, and these Cars will go to the highest bidder, but school board members, employees, John Q. citizen, anybody has the opportunity to bid for this.
As long as you leave the logo on the door, that's all I ask.
Yes.
All right, any other questions for Ryan? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, up next, reports and presentations. I think first up, we have the PAC, and Mr. Ryan Austin is here. Come on down, Ryan.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, my name is Ryan Austin. I am the chair of the Yes for Estacada Schools Political Action Committee. And so I just kind of want to give you an update on what we've been doing since last month's meeting and what we have coming up. We have had a couple of meetings now with volunteer signups. We have a pretty solid group of people that have volunteered to help us out. At this point, we have 3 community canvassing events coming up. So April 6th, April 20th, and May 5th, we have community canvassing events with not only community members, but potentially some students and district employees as well. So we will be out knocking on doors, answering questions, making sure people are registered to vote, getting people registered to vote if they are not. We have sent out our first round of direct mailers. Some of you probably got them in your mail yesterday or today. We are starting to get some responses from those. We're getting some volunteer signups on our website. And so those are, I think they said that they will land over 3 or 4 or 5 days. So over the next few days, everybody should be receiving those. We've got postcards getting ready to go out as well. That will be hand written and addressed by members of the community. We have the support at this point of the OSEA, the EEA. We have a meeting with the EEA next week to speak about doing some potential canvassing with some of the employees as well after school hours and things like that. We met with the student council today. We're planning an event for the student council at the high school to help get the word out to voters that are in school, that are of age to vote, and get them registered to vote, get them educated about what the bond means for them, their future, their potential kids' future in this community. So we've got a lot going on right now. We've got a lot of potential events coming up, potentially with a couple of board members that we've had some conversations with as well, obviously within the rules of not having too many of you in one place at one time. Community events at local restaurants, tabling at youth sports, spring sports, events at the elementary schools and things like that. So got a lot of signage going up. We've got some very large, 4-foot by 8-foot banners going up in strategic places across from some of the schools, from on high traffic corners for people that support us. We are currently in the midst of getting arguments in favor. Superintendent Carpenter spoke at the city council meeting Monday night, and I did as well, unbeknownst to me, but we did get a unanimous vote from the mayor and the city council to support it, to sign an argument in favor that will go into the voters pamphlet. We're hoping to have 10 or 11 of those in there, so there's page after page after page of arguments in favor from the city council, the fire department, community leaders, students, parents, business owners. That's going to be pretty impactful, we think. And so as time goes on, we will have some more postcards going out. We will do some more individualized communications with community members that we have identified as potential yes voters, people who maybe are on the fence and have some questions to get answered, which is starting to happen more and more today. I spent about an hour today standing in the lobby of the fire department answering questions to a few people after I met with you this afternoon. So right now things are hopeful. We've had a lot of really good response and not a lot of negative. So we've got some social media campaigns getting ready to run, email marketing campaigns, and some other digital forms of community outreach as well. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Great.
Thanks for all the time you've put in.
Yeah.
And thank you in
Absolutely.
advance for the rest of the time.
Yeah, absolutely,
A lot of work to do, it sounds like. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
And I can say I was at the, a meeting, was it yesterday? Was it last night?
Yeah, it was last night.
I also spoke at the city council
Yeah.
meeting on Monday, but was at a meeting with community members last night, and again, I think how you guys have packaged this together and the effort and energy that you're putting into it is rallying the community in a really positive way, so I've seen it firsthand and look forward to being involved in any way, shape, or form that we can.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I know you were looking for volunteers, and I was just curious how many people we've got volunteering to help.
Well, it depends on if you mean overall or for specific events. So right now, we have a list of about 100 people that have shown interest.
Wow.
We are trying to get, for some of these community canvassing events, about 30 or 40 people at a time to show up. We offered to feed them pizza and make sure they didn't go to the houses that would yell at them. So
Who's paying for the pizza?
we've got a little budget.
They got a lot of money.
Yeah, we've had some donations from the community members.
Let's just be clear, it's not the school
The
district.
school district is not paying for
I think that's a
anything
good
that we
thing.
do,
Yeah.
just so everybody knows.
Yeah, put that on the record.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, right now, we have a pretty good turnout,
That's awesome.
and we're getting more and more every day. So, we're asking people to talk to their friends, their neighbors, tell your kid to tell their best friends' parents, bring the kids with you to these canvassing events. People are typically a lot nicer when there's children around, so we're gonna use that to our advantage. Yeah.
Ryan, what is the actual measure? Has it been filed?
Yes, it is 3-607.
3-607. Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Keep
Yeah.
us in the loop as far as events as well, and yeah,
Absolutely.
appreciate,
We will.
again, as everybody has said, but appreciate all that time and effort and energy now
Yeah.
over the next couple of months.
Yeah, and you guys can keep an eye on yesforestacada.com. We'll be posting all the events there that we're gonna be a part of.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Ryan,
Appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right, next up is the road to success, and it looks like on my list, we have Mark Montoya and Lisa Gardner.
It's actually going to be the principal and vice principal
Okay.
first, yeah.
If we'll
Sorry
bring down
about
the
that.
principal and vice principal for Estacada High School, come on down. We'll do a quick intro and then let her rip.
Great. Well, thank you guys for letting me speak tonight. I'm Ryan Rosenaw, principal of Estacada High School. So I always love the opportunity to highlight the great things that are going on at the high school, and the Road to Success program is certainly one of them. So thank you for allowing us to speak about that. One great thing about the Road to Success program is that as school administrators, we are always looking for ways of being able to inspire kids to engage in their education, to be able to find relevancy in their education, and to make a great learning experience for every kid in our school. And while this great system of ours that we built works really well for most kids, not every student thrives in a high school environment. The social part of it, the bell schedule, the structure, just the learning style of traditional school, some kids need something a little bit different. And that's what I'm really proud of, is that Estacada School District is a continuous improvement system where we're looking at individual kids, what makes them successful, and how we can improve and make a better educational system. And the Road to Success does that because it's not a one-size-fits-all system. And so in visiting Mark's room and Elisa's room, I see kids thrive. I see kids in their element. I see kids that are more relaxed, that are engaged in their learning, that were not in the regular school hallway. And so kids are in there for very different reasons. And I've seen great growth and graduation rates and opportunities that these kids would not have otherwise. So I'm really excited for this potential move to downtown. These are great kids, and it's an opportunity to showcase our program to the community, philanthropy efforts downtown, business partnerships, different ways of connecting with the community and showing the community what we're all about and what these great kids do. And so I'm very proud of it, and I'm excited for the next steps. As a school district, we are looking to serve every kid in their unique way. And not all kids learn the same. And so it's very inclusive and equitable to give kids what they need. And this is kind of what these kids need, a space of their own, a culture of their own, to build and to grow and to thrive. Yeah.
Yeah, good evening. I'm just going to add that in addition to everything that Principal Rosenau just shared, this program supports students as we are working really hard to create options, improve options, expand our options to include each student and help them direct their path. This promotes that. It creates a sense of belonging. It creates a sense of hope that they're able to seek out and set goals for their future, academics, and beyond. And so it really does create that option to include all students as part of our school community.
Absolutely. I think a big part of educational success is instilling confidence in every learner, right? A lot of learners tend to falter if they lack that confidence to do well. They have not always experienced success in life. And there's a lot of baggage that a lot of kids carry. And because they've never experienced success in life, they don't see the value in school. But this program changes that around. It's a personalized approach. It's an approach where relationship building is centered to the whole thing. And it's those personal relationships that our teachers build with the kids that makes a difference. And they'll be able to do that in spades with this new expanding program.
And this is a great group of kids who love their school and love their option that they are selecting for themselves.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, Ryan.
Yeah.
I love it. I think that's a great idea. Can you share with us an example of how you would walk a student through this program? What are they interested in? What are we doing for them that gets them so excited?
You know, I think the RTS program, the Road to Success, is named so because it truly is a pathway for them to see their future. A lot of these kids are disenfranchised with the traditional school system, and so they have never seen success in school. And so the Road to Success program is a way of personalizing their experience, and kids are able to go at their own pace, right? Using the Odyssey-ware and an online program, they're able to again, personalize their educational experience to meet their needs, to meet their outcomes and their goals. And it's been highly successful. I think we can point to our graduation rates at the high school as one indicator and leading measure of that. Otherwise, a lot of these kids would drop out. And they would not be as productive citizens as they would on the RTS program. So it's not just about education, but about citizenship and retaining them and giving them an education that they deserve. Otherwise, we would lose them, as Superintendent Carpenter said, maybe to other charter schools or dropouts, and we'd have to do our due diligence, right, with Child Find, trying to discover where these kids are. Having them here with us in our system gives them the opportunity to grow.
Okay, so is this something that's being used throughout the nation in other areas? Who's the generator of it? I'm involved in Train to Reign, which I think is very interesting, and it's John MacArthur. Who sets this up? Where's the information coming from?
You know, a program like the Road to Success is such in high demand around Clackamas County and the state. I know firsthand, I know Superintendent Carpenter spoke to this earlier, that the alternative schools in our area are at capacity. And there are so many schools in our area that would love to have an alternative like we're talking about. It would be the envy of the county, for sure. Because the school system just isn't designed to take care of these kids, unfortunately. And so the idea of alternative education, I think, rests with the idea that the school system hasn't changed that much in over 100 years. The society is changing quickly. In Estacada School District, we do things very differently. And I think one of those things that we do differently is innovation and keeping ahead of trends. The trend now is that more personalized experience, that more personalized education that takes care of each kid. So I think investing in our alternative program is one way of keeping ahead of that curve.
Okay. You didn't really answer my question.
I don't know the history, the evolution of the alternative program, or?
And I think I can even a little bit too, but
Sure.
it's really, it's
Yeah.
not like, it's not us subscribing to a program, it's us
No.
realizing that there's a need and building that program for what the kids need. So unlike the organization that you said that you're involved in, there isn't like a parent organization that runs this. It's the district takes on the
Oh,
ownership and
yes.
creates that system, student by student,
Yeah.
to create that road for them. So
These-
it's not partnered like curriculum coming
No.
from another organization or any of that. It is all built in.
These are Estacada High School students.
Yeah, we
Not
Road to
acronym
Success,
used in every state
we
for
made
those
up
programs.
with student
So it's
voice.
ours.
Yeah,
Yep.
these are our students and our kids in our program, and we are serving them. It's not a way of partnering with a different organization. These are our kids. Yeah.
See, I guess what I'm having a tough time with is when somebody grabs me in the ice cream aisle
Sure.
at the store, I want to be able to communicate to them what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do. And I hear a lot of very interesting things, but nothing concrete that I can really say to an individual in my area that wants to know, what are we doing?
Sure. I think a good ice cream aisle conversation would be to say, this program serves and supports 3 types of children. The first one is a kid who has fallen behind in their credits to achieve on-time graduation. And so this is the place that they have chosen to go to catch up faster, because we can individualize or customize their experience to try to get them back with their age level peers. That's kid number 1. Kid number 2 is a kid who is either dealing with or chooses not to want to participate in the classroom structure that has 30 to 35 kids, 550 kids walking around. They just want to do their schooling and get out of here. They want nothing to do with anything else. That's kid number 2. Kid number 3 is a kid who has to work between 20 and 60 hours a week to help their family pay the bills and to do other things just to help their family survive. And so they cannot even attend high school from 8 o'clock a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. proper, because they have to do different things to serve their family unit. And this is an opportunity for us to continue to give that kid a high school education, but meet the needs of their needs or their family unit, which is why it's very customizable from that perspective. So at the end of the day, these types of students are at risk for dropping out, at risk for trying to graduate early in a different program, which is a loss for our community and a loss for our school district. And so this is our innovative approach to keep those kids in Estacada schools, serve their very unique needs, and get them to walk across that aisle with a high school diploma so that they can engage in the workforce.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
One question I had, seeing that we're moving, or talking about moving into a new space, can you speak to why that's important for those kids to have their own identity and their own space, rather than just a wing of the high school or under the stadium or something of that nature?
Well, I think there's a few reasons for that. One is just the physical capacity of the space. It is over 5,000 square feet. The space that we currently have is a third of that?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, about that. And so just the ability to take a blank canvas and to work with our educational professionals of what does that interior look like as far as learning spaces and customize it is important for the kids. But it's also important just being downtown and the opportunities that downtown affords with the help of the philanthropy, getting involved with internships, getting involved in some of the local businesses, and seeing the kids in that space. But in addition, these are kids that need a different type of education. They have not thrived in the traditional school. They're not going to go to the school assembly or the games and wear the Ranger gear often. They have a different need. And so there is certainly a lot of relationship building and camaraderie and culture that's built around that common need, like they're in this together.
Yeah.
And building that culture is really important for success. So these kids they'll get to rename the program, remarket the program. This is their building. It's been a while since they've been able to take pride in themselves and pride in their education. This is a space that they can own and take pride in, that they can name, that they can take care of, that they can see a future of themselves in. So it's that ownership of the space itself that will transform them into believing in themselves and give them the confidence to succeed. So I think that culture building and camaraderie and the physical space itself all lends itself to a good move.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've got one more question, if I
Yeah.
may. How many square feet is that building?
I think it's about 5,000.
It's exactly 5,000.
5,000, yeah.
And are we planning on having 50 students in there at a time?
Preferably 70, but yes,
Is that big enough?
it's going to be close. We can fit what we have in there right now pretty easily, but yeah, our hope is to expand it. But how we get creative with the room designs and try to make it less traditional, yeah, it'll be a stretch, but not all 70 kids are usually there, or 50 kids are usually there on campus at the same time too, just because of their circumstance. Yeah,
Okay, good.
yep.
But we're currently fitting those 50 kids in
We're-
1,700 square feet.
Yeah, there are currently 50 kids in 1,700 square feet or whatever it is. Yeah, so we would triple the space than they currently have now.
I also just wanted to bring up something that I do believe, and because I do know some of the kids that are actually in the program now, there are those that still want to be a part of the high school
Yes.
culture as well. So I understand the need to, look at expanding and, see this as a neat opportunity, but I also want to make sure that those kids that want to be a part of the regular high school activities and stuff, it's an easy transition and process that we support them back and forth, and they don't feel that they're being excluded from those opportunities.
That's part of the logistics that Superintendent Carpenter talked about earlier, and we've been meeting about that. And the fact that it's just down the hill makes that quite easy as far as food delivery, but using a small fleet to get kids back up here for CTE operations, classes and electives. They're still our kids, right? And they're still part of the Estacada School District. And we want them to find success where their passion lies, right? If that's automotive, any of our CTE programs, or any of our electives in the building, it's just down the hill. And so we'll be able to serve those kids well.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you both. Very
Great,
nice.
thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anything next week? That's it?
Yeah, just those, and then
Okay.
we've got Mark and Elisa.
Coming up, right?
Yep.
Okay. So next up, it's continuing on the road to success. Sorry, I didn't have them in right order, but Mark Montoya and Elisa Gardner, if you want to come up, that would be awesome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Mr. Montoya. This is Ms. Gardner. We're the visible part of the RTS program. RTS started as the brainchild of this gentleman and this young woman. I was hired the second year it was running after the pilot year. We have typically served somewhere between 30 and 45 students each year. If we wanted to move this entire meeting into that room, we used to serve 38 students out of that room. Currently, we are at 50 students. At any one time, we have up to 43 in the rooms currently, so 1,700 square feet for 43. As far as the students that we have, they are fantastic young people that simply have not learned how to be good students. We contend with things like executive functioning skills, basically teaching them how to be a productive member of everyday society. We have students that love to be part of school, and they join. The jazz band, the percussionist is one of ours. We have students that want to be in the rooms 7 periods a day and do their entire education in front of a screen. So we have the entire gamut. We have students that would love to be in auto shop all day long, but they still have to do English. And we find ways to work with each individual student. Whether it's a young woman that wants to go into welding and doesn't want to do advanced algebra, but instead we can provide math for welding, which is a college textbook that we use on occasion with students that like to build. We have students that struggle with housing issues. We have students that come from average everyday homes. We have students that struggle academically for various reasons. We have students that struggle with emotional problems. And we have students that just don't like to switch classes every 50 minutes. One student who happened to be watching Alice in Wonderland said it felt like change places. I just get started and the bell rings. So we provide a number of services. In many ways, a move to downtown is going back to how RTS started. Being separate from the high school provided an interesting advantage. A lot of young people don't know themselves. So who do they try to impress? All their peers, who are not always people they should be trying to impress. And it used to be that 1,100-foot walk from the front door of this school to S4 down under the stadium was just far enough away to figure out, oh, I'm my own person. Oftentimes when students come into RTS, you see friend groups change. The start of the school year, you tend to see cliques. By about spring break, you start seeing the cliques circulate among each other. At the end, we end up with a community of students that maybe they didn't like this guy, or they didn't know this person, or this guy always does sports and this other person just likes to do music, and in the end, well, occasionally we have to break up games of Uno, but it tends to be an entire community, not just a clique of students. And as far as things go, we help get them an education. The big part is when we get to see where they go after. We have a student that is studying physics at PSU. We have a young woman who just transferred to U of O from CCC. We have students that are in the military. One of our 2021 graduates is an electrical apprentice and just bought her own house 6 months ago. I wish I had been that smart at that age. Yeah. So there's all these great stories. And now I have this really great thing where I'll go out. If you guys don't know, I really like to play pool. And on Sunday, I was playing league, and I hear, Mr. Montoya, is that you? And it was one of our 2019 graduates, a student that typically we would have worried about being productive. Renting his own place, living by himself, no longer with someone he shouldn't have been with, paying the bills, has a retirement plan going. I went home pretty happy that night. I did lose my match though. So other than that, we are the luckiest people in this entire building with the students that we serve. And they come back to visit pretty often. We just had one come yesterday to go, I got into a phlebotomy program. Well, if anyone's tried to make an appointment at Kaiser, they need more phlebotomists. So, I hope that answered some of your questions.
It did, thank you.
And some of your questions. And if anyone has anything else they'd like to ask, I'd be happy to speak. It's good you had a timer. I could go on all night.
Questions?
You know what? I just like to say I didn't.
Nope, sorry, we can't. Sorry.
I didn't know you guys were going over this today, and I had my son the second year you guys got this.
Yep. We gotta move, but thank you. All right, any other questions from this half of the room? All right, thank you so much for sharing the experiences and giving us a better picture of what you guys do every day.
Our door is always open. If you ever want to come visit, come by. I think I've seen many of you, if not most of you, at various times over the years, so feel free to just drop by. Unannounced is better than announced.
And since the inception, we have grown and evolved and made a dream come true and even gone beyond that, and it's been a pleasure.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. All right, next up, Tim Cook from Clackamas Community College. Come on up, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well. I have some. Good evening.
Good evening.
Chair and members of the board. Thank you again. I'm Tim Cook at Clackamas Community College. Thank you for having us tonight. And I think you know our board member, but I'll let her introduce herself.
Okay, I will. I'm Jane Reed, and good evening, board members. It's really good to be before you again. And I also, before we start, I wanted to second Dr. Carpenter's praising of you as a board. You really are amazing. You really work so hard, and you really are such an asset to our community, and thank you very much. It is. You're great. So I'm Jane Reed. I'm a longtime resident of Estacada, and I've also been on the board at Clackamas Community College for the last 16 years. So with me, as you know, Dr. Cook introduced himself there, and he's been the president here for about 6 years. And we were here about a year ago before you to talk about kind of going over the celebration of the success of our last bond. So we're here before you tonight to talk about our, what we're calling now, Planting Seeds for Student Success, which is the bond we are considering placing before the voters in November. And it would be for the planned second phase of our College Facilities Master Plan, and it would be a renewal of the existing bond, which was passed in 2014. So right now we're going around the community sharing this information with a number of different groups, both internally and externally, and we're getting feedback to see if these projects serve your needs. So I won't spend too much time because I think all of you know who we are. I have a feeling we've been before you before, so I won't tell you a whole lot. But we've been around for nearly 60 years. We have 3 campuses, Oregon City, Milwaukee, and Wilsonville. We have more than 100 career tech programs and a variety of other educational opportunities. We serve close to 19,000 students. And actually, we are now currently, as of the last few months, we are second only to PCC in the state of Oregon in the number of students that we serve.
Woohoo.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously.
And we employ more than 900 people doing this wonderful work. So, Tim, you can carry on from there?
Yeah, and actually, those numbers that you just showed there, these are the updated numbers that we have. So just under 20,000 students overall that we serve every year. You'll see the mix there of transfer and career and technical and so on. I'd like to point out about a third of our students now are racial minorities, and only 15% of our students are full-time. And so the vast majority of our students are working parents or, don't have the opportunity to really come to school full-time. So they are non-traditional students, as they say, and 32 is the average age. It drops down to about 24 when you include our high school dual credit students and more traditional students, which as of this year now, we're 22% of our overall enrollment are high school dual credit students. Don't need to go into this one. You guys have been talking about bonds quite a lot. We've been doing this a lot, so sometimes we have to talk a little bit about what this means. I will say we are thankful for a really strong history of community support at the college for more than 25 years. We have some nice facilities and some nice campuses because of voters, and we take that really seriously, and we try to be really good stewards of this money. And so when we considered, this renewal bond for November of 2024, we've spent quite a bit of time really trying to refine this and make sure that we weren't asking for things that we don't need, and really thinking more about how do we set ourselves up for the next 10, 20, 30 years or more, so that we can continue on. And I'll just say really quick, you have a packet in front of you, and our overall theme is planting seeds for student success. You'll hear in just a minute that's related to horticulture, which is one of our key pieces. But we're also, with that theme, really thinking about that proverb that we're planting trees that we know we'll never sit under, and that we benefit from those who planted those trees many years before we ever came. And so that you have a little seed packet from our horticulture program from our students as part of that. But overall, we are really thinking about, who is the next generation of students to come here to the college. So it is a renewal bond from bonds that we worked on in 2000 and 2014, a continuation of that work. Just a quick reminder, because I know we were before you before, that 2014 bond was a $90 million bond, but I think more importantly there, we were able to leverage that with an additional $46 million. And that was through some state matches, it was through a number of federal and state grants and local grants, and we're really proud of that fact. In addition to that, it's really important to our board that we, when we're hiring contractors, that we look for small local businesses, women-owned businesses, minority businesses. And so over 30% of our projects that we completed in that 2014 bond were we're local businesses, and so we try to keep those dollars in Clackamas County as well when we get that funding. So how did we get here? We've spent the last couple years really trying to identify again what it is that we needed. We did a pretty comprehensive concept master plan for all 3 of our campuses. We also did an athletics facility master plan and that's for our own sports teams. We have 11 different sports teams at the college, but we partner with a number of community groups, school districts to use our athletic fields as well. And so there's a athletics master plan that we looked at. And then of course, with being nearly 60 years, some of our buildings now, are aging as well. We need to make sure that we're taking care of our existing assets. And so we did a mechanical, electrical, plumbing plan. We came up with a total bill of $335 million, which was way over what we knew voters would support. So we have spent about the last year really whittling that down with internally with our staff, students, and our board. Did some surveying, both internally and externally, to really get to something that was a little bit more reasonable. And is this back to you or is this mine? Oh, this is still mine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. For how we do it. So we took that $335 million and got that down to about $110 to $120 million. So about a third of those identified needs. And this is a renewal, so we're not raising taxes on this bond. And this is, we've identified now 3 themes, and Jane will go into more detail on those, but the first one is preparing students for success in modern learning spaces. And that's some of these programs that we're looking at. But as you know very well, education's just changed so much, and learning has changed so much. And it's, we don't see the need to have large lecture spaces. In fact, those really don't serve us well anymore. We need smaller, adaptable spaces and flexibility. And so this will allow us to plan for the future, but also to adapt to future needs. I say every speech I ever give that community is quite literally our middle name, and we take that very, very seriously, and we try to, wherever we can, really partner and have what I call authentic community partnerships. And so there's some of that we're working on, and some of that actually that we're working on here in Estacada as well that I'll mention. And then we want to obviously preserve and maintain our existing assets and any assets that we're able to build into the future. So now I think we're back to you.
Yeah, so this first point is to prepare students for success in modern learning spaces. It's very exciting, this opportunity that we're going to have to build a center of excellence for horticulture, farming, welding, and wildland fire programs. They are now housed, I don't know if when you come into the campus from the Beaver Creek entrance, you maybe on the left is one of the older sections of the college, and it has been, that's where most of these programs have been housed, and they have not been updated as sort of other parts are. So they are, they need that updating, and we also have this opportunity to partner with OSU Extension Service to build a great new area there that will focus on those with modern facilities in horticulture and farming and welding and wildland fire. So that is a great opportunity. And we also, as Tim was talking about, modernizing learning spaces for future needs. We have built a number of new buildings, and like several new buildings with the last bond, but our older ones are 60 years old, and they were built for classrooms of 60 years ago. So a lot of that is reconfiguring that space so students can work together, so they can have places if they're taking some classes in person, some classes are hybrid, some classes are online. They'll be able to have those opportunities to do that while they're there on the campus.
And if I can give just a quick example, what we're seeing now is a student might come and take a traditional class face-to-face, and then immediately following need to get on Zoom. And so they're looking for like a quiet space somewhere in a building or like a, a nook somewhere. And so we're envisioning, what I wish we had a bunch of old phone booths, quite frankly, where they need to get in there. But, smaller conference spaces where 2 or 3 students can collaborate and use their technology or get on one of those Zoom classes. Right now they're in their cars or they're, again, grabbing something where they can. So we see an opportunity to really, do some rethinking about some of our spaces there to address that.
The next one is enhancing partner and community connections, improving our access to STEM opportunities, and that, one of the ways that, and then also creating workforce apprenticeship partnership building in Wilsonville, upgrading our athletic fields, and constructing a grandstand, and completing the Douglas Loop walking trail. And we've been partnering with PGE for more than 20 years on our Wilsonville campus, and we have indoor and outdoor training facilities for them, and it is also our apprenticeship hub and provides technical training and general education courses. So we see a real opportunity for expanding these opportunities and partnerships in that area and benefiting the business partners there and also the community there. And, well, throughout the whole county. Also, one of the cool things that it might open is a Challenger Center on one of our campuses, which is a leading education nonprofit that develops and delivers simulation-based STEM programs to students at learning centers and in classrooms, and that would support K-12 partners and encourage underserved students to explore careers in STEM. And it is a really cool thing where students come in and you can describe it better than I can.
Yeah, let me, if you think about OMSI in a way there, and you think about, the Challenge disaster that happened in 86, there's this is a nonprofit that the only one in the Northwest is up in the Seattle area, and there's several in the Midwest and the East Coast, that we would take one of our, part of one of our buildings and create a space where 8th graders can come in, high school students can come in, college students, and even actually adults can come in, and some of them can be at mission control, some of them can be on the shuttle, and really going through a full day simulation of of some different STEM opportunities there about going into space. It's a kind of a cool process. You see an example of that on the right there, where some younger students are actually doing that simulation. So that's kind of an exciting opportunity. And then what I mentioned earlier, and Superintendent Carpenter and then some of the other superintendents, the rural superintendents, were working on a project to really think about rural CTE. And the way I think about this is, every kid in Clackamas County should have the same opportunity to education and to career and technical education. And the fact of the matter is that by proximity, schools that are closer to our campus have more opportunity right now. And that doesn't feel right to me. And so we've been discussing ways to look at a rural CTE programs and opportunity out here. The challenge we have is this is a vision that we're trying to develop, and it's not bond ready at this time, but we have a donor who's ready to step up and really support this, and we're creating now. I've been calling it kind of taking the education to the people. How do we really think about some of these programs and bring them out to kids from Estacada, bring them out to kids from some of the other rural districts? So that is something that we're not ready to commit to in the bond dollars yet, but I see an opportunity as we create this vision to use some of those resources and some of the existing resources we have to create that. And certainly, as I said, that existing donor that is ready to really step up and help us do that is kind of an exciting opportunity as well.
Yeah, that's a good one. One of the other things that this part will do is upgrading the athletic fields, which I don't know if you've been there. They need it a lot, and a lot of schools and folks use those fields for meets and everything, and they have a lot of needs, but also thinking about constructing a grandstand there, because it would be something that could be used for graduation events, and that the whole community could be using that. There isn't really one around in that area there. Also get a synthetic soccer field and lighting, and just really expand the use of those facilities and those things for the whole community. Also, the Douglas Loop walking trail, if you've been to the campus, you know that there's this great trail that walks all around the perimeter of it, and it isn't complete. There have big gaps on it, so we're gonna be working on that to complete that one too. And then the third section is to preserve and maintain assets, which is so crucial. And we would use it to make needed renovations and large-scale repairs, including increasing accessibility, addressing safety hazards, and improving security to building systems that will make them more reliable and energy efficient, things that you all have been working on as well for so long. And keeping our IT infrastructure up to date is also critical for our operations. And I don't know if you knew, but we were the victims of a cyber attack not that long ago that we really took care of quickly.
It's a whole other presentation.
But it is a whole other, you do not want that.
Yeah.
You do not want that. And, but they were able, we had wonderful staff that were able to jump in on that. So also energy efficient upgrades, replacing outdated central heating and cooling plant, that will, as you know, give a lot of annual savings as well.
So as I mentioned, we're really interested in partnerships, and we were able to leverage that 2014 bond by almost 50%. And so we have that similar goal with this one, is that, if we're able to get a $120 million bond passed, that we would be looking for another, $50 or so million in matching funds. Oregon State, that extension service, they came to us and said, hey, we need to vacate our building. We'd love to be on your campus. We can bring some significant dollars, and we'd love to plan this with you. And one example of that I think is pretty exciting is they want, their forestry program there. And they said, we really would love to have a 2-story, opportunity to, with some large trees in it where we can highlight that and highlight, cross-laminated timber. And, we have an arboriculture program where we train people how to, trim trees and take care of the health of trees. And they've been asking for years for, an indoor facility where they can climb up and down trees, call it like an adult jungle gym almost. And, so the synergy of that, and then of course the Master Gardener program, 4-H, we do a number of things with them already. So to have them on our campus provides even more opportunity, and the fact that they're gonna bring some significant financial support. The state of Oregon, for community colleges, will match $8 million per building, so we expect to get significant matching dollars for any of our buildings that we end up doing. And then we just, a few of us just returned from DC, where we've met with our senators to talk about some federal support. And that doesn't even include all of the work that we're doing around grants. We're quite successful with federal and local grants, and we'll continue to do that work as well. So, the dollars, everyone wants to know. It's 25 cents per thousand of assessed value. That's what the current rate is. That's what we're going to renew this bond at. So if you're curious, Estacada, and this seems low to me based on what I know about how much Estacada is growing, but right now the average assessed home value in Estacada is $235,772, which puts this cost at $58 per year for that. And so that's what this will cost. When we went out again and did some of our polling, people were interested in the projects we were doing. They were much more excited when they found out that it was a renewal bond and that we weren't raising taxes that way. And so that's something that we want to be really clear about. And that's it. We have a site, cccbond.org, where you can get more information. We are, as Director Reed said, we're in the exploration stage where we're gathering feedback and making sure these are the right things that we should be looking at. The board will be making a decision here in the spring about putting this on the ballot for November. And if you have the time, would be more than happy to answer any questions or hear any feedback that you have. But again, thank you so much for the opportunity to be in front of you tonight.
All right, great.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
nice
Thanks, guys,
job.
appreciate it.
Yes. And if any of you ever want a tour, I can volunteer.
Voluntold.
If anybody wants to come and take a look around or anything like that.
I love showing off
yes,
our
campuses. Love showing off the campus.
And
Thank you so much.
I did forget, I'm sorry, I always want to leave you with your own enrollment here, and because you're doing some really innovative things. This is last year's number, so they don't include the 21 students now that are that are coming to the college from Estacada High. But last year we had 43 students take more than 300 excuse me, 315, or earn more than 315 credits and saving the tuition dollars of about $35,000. And as I said, that number is going to almost double now because of the work that you're doing. So pretty exciting.
Great.
All right, thank you both, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, on to G, which is discussion. We have none. H, hearing of citizens for action items only. None, thank you. On to I, action items. The consent agenda includes a package of one or more items to be voted on as a unit. However, if any board member is not in favor of one or more agenda items and prefers to take separate action, a request to the chair anytime prior to the vote will remove that item for a separate vote. So before we get to the consent agenda, per policy BBFA, I am declaring an actual conflict of interest and will not be participating in the discussion or the voting on the consent agenda.
So I'll add in Vice Chair Wheeler. I want to declare a actual conflict of interest. I will not vote, participate in any discussion, or debate on the consent.
Okay,
Pass it to you.
that leaves 5 of us. I need a motion for the consent agenda.
Vice Chair Wheeler, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
We have a
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? None? If there's none, let's vote. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Wheeler. On to item J, superintendent's contract for fiscal years 2024 through 27.
Chair Idell, I move to extend and approve superintendent's contract for the fiscal year 2024 to 2027.
Second.
Moved and seconded, I'll kick off the discussion. Again, as the board has worked on and performance evaluation, all of that aspect of our job, which is a big part of our job, we are very happy with Superintendent Carpenter's performance, so we appreciate your continued undying support of the Estacada School District and the Estacada community as a whole. And I think one of the things to call out, it doesn't get called out nearly as much, but if you go back to before Superintendent Carpenter's tenure here as a superintendent, what the Estacada School District looked like across Clackamas County and how it was connected with other school districts across Clackamas County. The partnerships, not only from an educational standpoint, but from community college, the ESD, it's a night and day difference, and I've had a lot of opportunity to participate in some of that. But the ownership and stewardship of the Estacada School District and the community has just been fantastic. So I personally want to say thank you for that, and we appreciate the effort and energy and commitment that you put into it each and every day.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
We're not there yet. Any other comments?
Thanks for your hard work.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
Yes. Let's
Yeah,
keep
I'll
going.
add, like the RTS.
Yep.
Like programs like that, the way that I've enjoyed seeing how we've made sure that school choice and parent choice is an important thing in our district, and to give students multiple options in a way to get across the finish line.
Yes.
And what the finish line means for them, because it doesn't mean the same thing for everyone. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You know how I feel about that. That's
Yes.
great.
Yes, thank you. Yep.
All right, any other comments? It's been moved, seconded, discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Still have a job. On to item K, the budget calendar.
Chair Rydell, I move to adopt the Estacada School District 24-25 budget calendar.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we've seen it a few times. I think we've discussed it a few times, so any additional conversation that needs to happen around the budget calendar? All right, looking forward to it. It's my favorite time of year. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
And I mean that, I'm a budget guy. On to item L for the small vehicle purchases in the district fleet.
Chair Adele, I move to approve the purchase of 2 vehicles for $173,237.01 for the Estacada School District fleet.
Second.
Moved and seconded. I did have a question, Superintendent Carpenter. So as we looked at the slide, it's 2 vans, right? A 10 and a 14. You had mentioned in the slide a truck, so I didn't see that included. So I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah,
that wasn't.
that's
something that
correct.
was
The 2 vehicles together from this company constitute the need to authorize board approval because they're over $50,000 in full purchase. And really, I'm sharing with you more of a longer-term vision than just a tonight. However, I think we are purchasing 1 or 2 of those small compact trucks as well to help with that. But it didn't reach the threshold that required board authorization.
That's what I just want to make sure of. So thank you.
I had a question too. Is this part of any kind of state program like the buses were?
Yeah.
Where you get a fleet?
Yep, we'll
price?
get, because these transport kids of this, we'll get a 70% reimbursement over 10 years to pay for that. Yep.
And in addition to that, we partnered with, I'm pulling it up right now, was it Salem Kaiser?
Salem Kaiser. Yes.
We went in with them, so as
Correct.
to get the purchasing power and a discount on top of
That's right, yeah,
reimbursement.
well said.
Okay.
One question I had, not directly related to this, though. I think it was said that we have 3 yellow buses that are currently okay, but aren't gonna meet the 2025 standards.
Correct.
Does it behoove us to get rid of those now and get a salvage value versus punch a hole in the block and just have them walk off the lot on a tow truck?
Question.
That's a great question, and I'll get back to you on that, because we should investigate that.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
And on to item M for the lease for the new RTS space.
Right now, I move to approve the lease agreement for 325 South Broadway Street building as presented.
Second.
From a discussion standpoint, I just want to thank the administrators from the high school for being here tonight to share your perspective. Also, the teachers that are in the program, that are boots on the ground every day, really appreciate your guys' sharing your experience and perspective on how important this, whether it's down there or here, how important this is and how important it is to continue to provide that opportunity. So thank you.
I'll add, this is for a 5-year term, this lease.
Yes.
Imagine we'll revisit
Yep.
in between, and then
Yep. Yes.
that's what we're approving.
I think some other things that we discussed as we kind of learned more about this opportunity was kind of how this was not gonna, I mean, we were gonna be able to cover our costs with the student
Correct.
amounts and all that kind of stuff, right? I mean, so
Yes.
it's not, even though
This
we're.
is a cost-neutral purchase.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yep.
even though we're making this,
Yeah, well said.
move, we're not costing more.
That's
to move
correct.
This program
Yep,
in the long
you're
run.
saying that just right, and thank you for saying that. That's important for the citizens to know also. Yep.
Do you want to give a little bit more information or I mean, I can, but it's probably better coming from you.
Sure.
How that is a cost
And-
neutral, because that.
Yeah, for sure,
seems
and I'll do this
counterintuitive.
in a short elevator pitch as well for that. But really, at the end of the day, the state pays the school district $9,900 for each kid. So if you did the mathematics, 50 kids in this program roughly equal $450,000. So we already have this money to educate these kids. Right now, we're doing that in a way that we educate them in-house, and we utilize the money to educate them in the way that they are now. All we're saying is we're going to repurpose and redesign how we educate this experience, but the $450,000 is already here, and we're just repurposing that in a different way to adjust how we educate this program back to the origins of what its intent was, and that was to offer that in a separate space. But the money is already here, we're just reappropriating it differently.
Perfect, thank you.
One last question I have on the lease itself. Is there, I've looked over it a couple times, I didn't catch it if it's in there, a way to get out of that early?
Yes.
We work that language.
Yep.
quite a bit. There's different variations depending on why.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for looking over
Yeah,
that.
and thank you, Director Berman, for your help on it. Okay?
Okay.
Any other discussion, comments? Move second and discussed. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
On to item N for hearing of citizens for non-action items.
Yes, we have one. Vincent, not your last name, but
Vincent, I have to read this paragraph, so walk slowly. As a board, we appreciate and encourage public input. However, Oregon Public Meeting Law requires these sessions to be held in public. This is a meeting in public. It is not a public meeting. Primary difference being that public input may be requested or allowed, but is not required under the law. In other words, you have the right to view, but not necessarily to participate. Policy BDDH is the guide for public participation. In essence, it states that citizens must sign up in advance of the beginning of the regular meeting for an opportunity to speak. At all times, your comments are to be addressed directly to the board. Speaking time will be limited to 3 minutes or less. Those with common topic of interest are asked to combine comments where possible. Designate topic at time of sign up. Stay on topic. Any items already directed to the Office of Superintendent for review will not be heard in a board session. Finally, neither the board nor district personnel are expected or required to respond to comments and or questions during board meetings. So what I'll do, give you a second to introduce yourself. We get 3 minutes. It goes really fast. And when we get to the end of 3, I'm just going to say thank you and we'll move on. But thank you for being here. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Vincent Palomo. I'm the current chair of the Parks and Rec Department for the city of Estacada, not department, the committee. We've been kicking, for our yearly goals, we've been kicking around ideas for doing like community cleanup events. I wanted to do an ivy cleanup on the trees in Ranger Woods. It wouldn't cost the district anything. I talked to Don from Public Works about it, and he's fine with me getting, like, if we were able to do it, what would happen is, whether it would be like a community or like just us on the committee, I want to gauge your guys' interest in it before I get anything set in stone. But it's just, you know, the English ivy, it's bad for the trees, it's invasive, and it'll eventually kill the trees. And just us on the Parks Department, my personal thing is I like doing things where it's like, you know, planting native trees along the rivers, those types of volunteerism. I wanted to bring some of that into the city, and it's high on my attention because I live right there, and I jog through all the time, and they're great trees. I'd hate to see them die to the ivy and stuff like that. So if you guys were fine with it, I ran the idea by Public Works and the city manager. They're fine with it, but they wanted me just to bring it to you guys just to make sure you guys would be okay with it.
Gotcha. Okay. Any questions?
Liability. Somebody gets hurt.
And so I think that's one that we'll direct. So what I should have said is if anybody here has any questions, please direct those to Superintendent Carpenter, and then we will have Superintendent Carpenter's office reach out to you.
Sure.
So, all right?
Yeah, all
Thank
good.
you very much. Appreciate it.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, that brings us on to item O, adjournment. Thank you all for being